Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to the CD Racula Show. Today we have a special treat for you, and you know how much I adore special little treaty poos. Today we're reviewing the 1987 film, The Lost Boys! This film had it all, the cast, vampires, a great story, and most importantly of all, great hair! Speaking of that, here's a picture of old CD back in the 80s. I miss my luscious locks sometimes. Oh well, bald is beautiful, baby. Some people say I now look like an older and more handsome version of Bruce Willis. Anyway, on with this show here. The Lost Boys, what a cast it had. A very 80s cast featuring Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. The Coreys were just the definition of the 80s, weren't they? Continuing on with the cast, we had Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric, Diane Weiss, Jamie Gertz, Alex Winter, and Edward Herman, just to name a few. Kiefer Sutherland's character, David, was one that really stood out to me in this film. Not only did he have that glorious bleach blonde mullet, let's see it here, but Kiefer Sutherland just has that gravelly voice that makes him perfect to play a whore baddie. In fact, his voice is so recognizable that he has voiced Snake in a few of the Metal Gear Solid video games. Pretty epic, if you ask me. You know who was one of my favorite characters of this film, and some of you may laugh at old CD for this, but I like the stingy old grandpa, whom had one of my favorite quotes of all time in the movies. I believe it went a little something like this. One thing about living in Santa Clara I never could stomach. All the damn vampires. I had to giggle like a little school vampire at that. There just aren't that many of us out there, first off, and we darn sure wouldn't be living in a place like California. The Sunshine State, no thanks. I'll stick to the overcast and the cold, thank you very much. The film basically saw two sons move to Santa Clara to be with their grandfather, and the older son falls in love with a girl. It's a tale as old as time, I'm telling you. Only this girl is essentially hanging out with the wrong crowd. And by wrong crowd, I mean a group of bloodthirsty vampires. Oh, by the way, humans, if any shady characters ever ask you to drink something that looks like it could be blood, always assume that it's blood and just say no. Just say no. How about that? Like, how hard is that to do? You know, how hard is it? You know, here, drink this. It's blood. No thanks. Okay. In this movie, had Michael played by Jason Patric, rather, had he just said no, he could have saved himself a whole heap of trouble. Of course, if he didn't, and of course he did, and he starts to turn into a vampire, and it's up to his younger brother Sam, played by Corey Haim, to find a way to save the day. Don't drink that blood, you could turn into a vampire. Another thing, and something us horror fans already know, stop inviting vampires into your home. How many horror movies must you watch before you learn that fact? In the film, the Big Baddie Boss played Big Baddie Boss vampire, Max, who they suspect to be a vampire, is invited into the home, and because he is invited, he isn't affected by mirrors, holy water, or garlic. So just don't do it. Of course, you can always invite old CD in for a bite to eat. I promise I won't stay too long. I always get people asking me if garlic can really kill vampires. The answer is no. It's just really disgusting. Just really not a fan. Doesn't tickle my fancy in the least. Speaking of tickling fancies, one of the things I love about the film was the look of the vampires and how they could change from normal looking to bloodthirsty creature when it was feeding time. I love the makeup and the masks. They really did a great job in this film. I think the look still holds up to this day and it is really scary. If you know me, then you know I still prefer the old school makeup, masks, and prosthetics to the new age computer animated stuff. I just think it's scarier looking at the end of the day, especially if it's done right like it's done in The Lost Boys. I mean, trust me, I have seen my share of films when the makeup and masks are done very, very wrong and gives the air a film of cheesiness. But they killed it with this film, and it was a very, very scary look, especially for the time. Reminds me a bit of the same look that was done for A Vampire in Brooklyn. With Eddie Murphy. Remember Eddie Murphy? Which isn't that surprising, really, since the movie was made just a few years after The Lost Boys. Although in A Vampire in Brooklyn, he looks a little more bat-like, a little bit more like a bat. Even though they do sleep hanging upside down in their cave in The Lost Boys on the beach. So they definitely played a little bit with the whole vampire bat thing, which was cool. If you remember that scene when they're all hanging upside down, it was pretty neat. This was a fantastic movie, and if you've already seen it, then I think it's worth a second watch, or in my case, a 500th watch. I know what you're thinking, that I don't get out much, but maybe I just really like horror movies. Okay? Just give old CD a break, why don't you? Oh my goodness. I would like to thank you once again for joining me on the CD Rakula Show, and please give to A Vampire in Need and hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Join me for next episode of the show when I review the film Crawl. Oh my, a water film. I hate water so much. Till next time, my sweet-tasting, warm-blooded horror fans. Ta-ta.